did you know Americans stop or prevent a violent crime 1 to 3 million times per year with a gun? That's right. Studies from Florida State, the CDC, the Crime Prevention Research Center show that guns are used to protect life 25 times more often than when they are used to take a life. That's 25 times, and that's an estimate on the low side. And if you believe that good people deserve the best tools to defend themselves and their families, then you should be a member of San Diego County Gun Owners. San Diego County Gun Owners makes it easy to connect with the community that fights to defend and restore your Second Amendment. It's $10 a month. And if this country goes to hell in a handbasket and you haven't joined, it's your fault. SDCGO.org. Join to become a member.
I liked the improv. That's nice.
Well, I'm getting tired of it. I keep listening to the frickin' news. You don't listen to it.
I don't listen to the news
And I'm so
anymore.
sick and tired of people. All they're doing now is complaining, pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Stop pointing fingers.
Start
Spend
do
$10
something.
frickin' dollars, or do like I do. Spend $100, and you get surprises in the mail that you don't even know.
90 million gun owners in the nation.
Yeah, and we got what? How many people join? 3,000?
Like 4,500 or 3,600.
I'm sorry.
I
That's
4,000.
we got 3 million in San Diego.
3.5 million in San Diego. We guesstimate there's probably about 400,000 gun owners in San Diego. It's probably about right. That includes everybody. That includes cops and security guards and people that just own to own. And
See, that's why you won't allow me to promote.
to promote what?
Well, I was doing. What's the guys with the bell at the grocery store?
Yeah, you gonna do that for us?
Oh no, I did do it. They let me do it one time, and I wasn't allowed to do it ever again.
Why?
Well, because people would walk up and say, "Hey, come on over here, put some money in the pot, man. There's people in dire need."
Yeah.
What do you mean you're not going to give me any money? Come on.
Yeah.
And I'd wait for them to come out, and I'd harangue them again when they came out.
It didn't go over well?
That didn't go over well.
What was that?
Yeah, I feel like we model, like pepper spray training, we model the people that the aggressive people after Dave.
Well, why not? And then I
would love to have been a fly on the wall during the conversation where they said you're not allowed to ring the bell.
Well, I don't pay attention because then I was doing the Burn Institute.
We know.
Yeah.
And I would walk up to you and I'd say, "Do me a favor, stick your finger out." And you stick your finger out. I'd take a lighter and I'd burn you.
That didn't work?
No.
That's
They really got upset about that. I said, but just imagine a little kid, 80% of his body went through just what you went with that little.
Well, I think they were looking for you to find new donors, not new patients. That might have been.
Well, I get very irritated when people don't join groups that do the right thing.
I do too. I try. I'll be totally frank. Let's be frank for just a second here. I can't let it bother me because then that's all I'd think about. So I go and say, all right, here's the deal. We've. It's like I said, we're going to talk about Gun Prom today. We're going to do a recap, and it was wonderful. But it was like I said last night when I was talking to everybody. I said, man, we've done everything people have asked for. Everything. We've done lawsuits. We've gotten CCWs. We've gotten women's programs. We've gotten programs we're on the news. We're on the hit. But we've done everything. So all I can do is, I think all of us can do is just keep working really, really hard. And the people who are going to do the right thing will do the right thing. And there's always going to be people that are just completely oblivious and people that just they're not going to participate.
Am I going to have to stare at this guy
all
for 2
day.
hours?
All right, hold on.
Look what it says in his shirt.
I know. Hold on. Let's introduce him. But first,
Starving.
Gun Owners Radio now provides marketing and advertising services, websites, SEO, e-commerce, email marketing. Our team can help you connect with your customers. 2 more free website checkups are left. It's a $300 value where experts review your website, and they give you a free comprehensive report. Email rich@gunownersradio.com to get a free website audit. I know you know somebody with a website that needs our help, so tell them about the free website checkup. Now let's introduce a couple. First, let's say hello to the very lovely Alicia. Alicia, how are you doing? Are you okay over there with the headphones? You doing?
The struggle bus today. I'm good.
Good. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for all the help at Gun Prom. Did you have fun?
I had a great time.
That's awesome. Did the hubs have fun?
I think you did.
I think your whole table. You were at a feisty table.
Were they a little rowdy?
Well, in a good way.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I had a good time.
all right.
You must
good.
have won.
No, we actually didn't.
Neither did we. Who is this guy with the shirt that's making me
Now,
hungry?
as I'm working my way through this, let's go to John Petrolino, the Pen Patriot, good friend, extremely great writer and patriot. And thank you so much for coming all the way out here, man.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here the last couple of days and hang out with you guys. And Gun Prom was great. Dave, I want to let you know, I wore this shirt just for you.
And tell me that's not local.
Just for you. It's not local.
No, wait. Don't you recognize this? Read the
I'm
shirt.
trying to see it.
It's an Italian sausage and Angus beef. It's a pork store, but
Satrielli's, I
There
had
it is.
I've got
You guys don't know where that's from?
He doesn't know. Well, so listen, it's a place that like my Uncle Tony used to hang out at, and my Uncle Paul.
Oh, he's kicking the
my
accent
cousin
on it.
Christopher, right?
You know what he's talking about?
Yeah.
So this was the place where the Sopranos hung out.
Oh, have you ever heard of Newski's?
No.
I buy my co-host 5 pounds of Newski's bacon, and she just got a box last Thursday.
Oh, they're delicious.
Yeah.
They're delicious. So he's wearing that, and he's got an accent because you're from
New Jersey.
the New Jersey.
And look, he's even got a bracelet to match.
Oh, him.
You know, not you.
Yeah. So
Take a
he
picture-
came all the way out. I
Take
think
a picture of his watch.
no, not yet.
It's a Fitbit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't put it. I can't
doesn't
put
qualify.
It doesn't qualify. I
It
can't put a
doesn't.
Fitbit on my.
No.
I think you have the award. Either you, I think it's you. Maybe did Adam travel further? You might get the award.
Adam flew out of Philadelphia, so no.
No.
We're further-
Well, then you
I'm
got the
further-
award.
Yeah,
we should have given you
east.
an award last night for.
That's okay.
Well, thank you. Why?
We're all winners, Michael.
So if you, I'm sure we were just talking in what the last 3 years you've written 550 articles or something like that.
Upwards of 600.
Upwards of
Yes.
600 in the last 3
Upwards of
years.
600 articles.
All Second Amendment related.
Yep.
He's done. He's covered stuff that we've done. Amazingly prolific Second Amendment writer. And where can people find your writing?
So I freelance. So my work comes out at bearingarms.com, The Truth About Guns, Ammo Land News. I also write for news2a.com. That's a site that you got to check out. That's a new one. And a couple other sites. I do some work for Armed Lifestyle magazine. It comes out like every other month. And the Second Press, they're on a semi-hiatus right now. I know Joe and Sam are contributing to Second Press as well. So my work's all over the place. But if you want to look for me, like I have a link tree. It's linktr.ee/J Petrolino III. That's where everything's aggregated. Or just go to my website, thepenpatriot.com. You can find me
That's
that way.
probably the easiest
That's
to
the
find.
easiest.
The
yeah.
penpatriot.com. Why, before we go to our first break, why do you come out here? Why is it important? Because that's a big, long haul, and you've been out here 2 years now, and I love having you.
It's not for the weather.
We put you in a corner and made sure that everybody could meet you and everything. But what's important about coming out here for Gun Prom, other than you get to see my smiling face?
Nobody puts Johnny in the corner. So I think it's important, like the work that you're doing out here in California, I consider us very kindred spirits.
Yeah.
The left coast and the right coast, we both have very specific challenges. And the things that we deal with in our states don't stay in our states. And they use California, New Jersey, New York, Hawaii, Massachusetts to an extent as the proving ground.
Yeah.
As the proving ground for the awful policies that they want to use to steamroll across America. And I see the work that you've been doing here, and, I like to come out and support.
That's awesome.
We appreciate it.
John's here the whole 2 hours. We're going to talk to him about a bunch of stuff.
Absolutely. If you own a gun in California, you should have an attorney that specializes in California gun laws on your speed dial. Because if you ever have legal matters that involve firearms, you need California's firearm lawyer, John Dillon. If you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. Our trusted firearms attorney is John Dillon. John specializes in California gun laws. Put his number on your phone right now, 760-642-7150. John Dillon, California firearms lawyer, 760-642-7150.
John Dillon was a champagne sponsor at Gun Prom last night. And
You notice he shaved?
No.
First time.
Well, it is a special occasion.
I personally walked up, and I could not believe it.
His
And I
face?
I congratulated
Just
him.
wanted to make sure. I don't know.
And he says, yes, that's right, I did, before I showed up.
That's awesome. I love John to death. He's such a good dude. I think he won a gun. I think he might have won a gun last night, too.
He did. Yeah.
Did he?
He won a gun. Yeah.
That's so jealous. All right. Speaking of guns, our call-in guest was also at Gun Prom, came out from the beautiful state of Arizona, back in free America. John Correia from Active Self-Protection, good friend. What a great guy, and what a huge benefit to the Second Amendment community and, of course, all the attendees at Gun Prom. They got to meet him. John, how are you?
I'm really great. We really enjoyed our time. I'm back in free America now, but really enjoyed our time. I'm really well. How are you, Mike?
Fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for bringing your lovely wife, Laura. She's always such a pleasure, and I appreciate you being a part of Gun Prom and coming out and meet folks. I'm already getting people that are telling me that they they're bragging that they got to meet the infamous John Correia.
Those poor souls. We'll pray for them.
Yeah. So what's going on? Although half of them couldn't recognize you.
He's got the different hair. Changed up the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little incognito because of the hair and the beard.
Kind of for those who haven't seen him recently, he's kind of doing a Bob Ross or maybe like a Disco Stew situations going on. But
we just narrate happy little defensive encounters. Great.
But you're doing it for a good cause, man. You're doing it for good. Do you mind talking about that?
Yeah. So I just started growing the hair for fun because I've never grown it out before, and I don't have a real job anymore, and so nobody can make me be an adult. And so we started growing it, and then, of course, it makes the internet frustrated. So we started a fundraiser over it, and we invited people to donate, and they can donate either to the Cut It Fund or the Keep It Fund. And every dollar that they donate will go to SWAT Ministries, and SWAT Ministries is run by a couple of friends of mine, John and Chrissy Espy. And their focus is they rescue underage girls from sex slavery all over the world. They focus particularly in Thailand, but they're all over the world. They train people from all over the world. They also adopt kids. I think John and Chrissy have adopted 7 children or something, like 26 kids or something weird. They have, children everywhere. And so right now they're trying to open a school for those kids. And so we're trying to help them with raising some money for that. So every dollar you donate gives you a vote in whether I cut my hair or keep my hair, and we will finish the voting on day 2 of our national conference, which is not this coming weekend, but the following, the 30th of September. At the end of this month, we'll finalize.
I'm voting right now, John.
And what's your vote? I want to hear.
Oh, cut it.
Oh, cut it. It's very clear. You just don't like it. What do you got against curly hair?
Well, it was curly too.
Oh yeah.
By the way, that's not asked him. That's all just coming in natural. He's just a naturally curly guy.
I don't know.
I had no idea I had curly hair. I've never grown my hair since I've been an adult, and since I got out of the service at the end of 2002, and never grew my hair after that, and grew it in, and lo and behold, it's naturally incredibly curly.
Well, you looked great. More importantly, you are great, and what you're doing is great. But you looked a little different. John, tell him what happened, John.
Yeah, so it was. I'm going to vote keep it, because if you and I are in some place at the same time, it works to my benefit.
Oh, that's right.
So I had
Why does it work to your benefit?
I had this lady come up to me, and she's like, "Oh my God, I want to get my selfie with you, and my husband loves your work," and we're chatting and whatever. She goes, and then she's like, "Yeah, he loves your videos." I'm like, you got the wrong John.
Wrong John.
Wrong John. The John you want is over there. And that happened to me twice. And she's like, "Really? That guy with the beard?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's him. Go. That's the guy you want to talk to."
So we're going to get him a T-shirt that says, "I'm the wrong John."
I'm the wrong John. That's it. I'm not the right John.
So much meaning behind that.
The famous author versus the YouTube guy.
We can square off.
So what's going on in the Second Amendment world? What's important to you right now? How has the last year looked? How's the next year look? What do you like that's happening? What do you dislike? Give us some. You definitely look like a prophet now. So give us some sage predictions or advice.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think the right to keep and bear arms is pretty well winning everywhere we go in terms of court. I love that. I think that's great. I love places like California is finally recognizing the right to keep and bear arms. So we're seeing Californians, applying for their CCW permits, as well as New Jerseyans and New Yorkers and Hawaiians. One of our staff, Soleil, was one of the very first Hawaiians to receive a CCW in the state of Hawaii.
Nice.
And
Congratulations.
he was in the lawsuits to make that happen. Yeah, that's great. And that's because she's awesome, not because Asp is awesome. She's just a bulldog, and good for her on that. And so I'm looking forward to more of that. I'm ready for somebody like an Arizonan or something to come forward and say, hey, wait a minute, I want to go to the People's Republic of California, but I'd like my right to keep and bear arms respected, and my permit is good in the state of Arizona. My driver's license is good when I cross the border into California. My marriage license is still valid when I cross the border. Why isn't my carry permit still valid?
We were so close to that just a few years ago. Reciprocity across the it has to happen. It doesn't make any sense. And the only reason
I'm not an attorney, but to me, I look at it and I go, all they had to say for marriage licenses and driver's licenses was, well, the full faith and credit clause of the U.S. Constitution says if you've got it in one state, it's good in the others when you're not a resident and a visitor. So that's pretty simple to me.
I agree. I'm not an attorney either, but I agree. It just seems like it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's so many other things that it just doesn't make any sense. Our roster just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. The fact that stuff like pot is legal in some states, but it's illegal to own a gun because it's federally illegal. It just doesn't make any sense. Whether or not you're for or against or up or down or left or right or whatever, we trust the government to do things that make sense, and when it doesn't, they got to undo it. They just have to. So, I definitely think for the first time in a long, you've been doing this a long time, and it feels like for the first time in a long time, there is a bright light at the end of the tunnel that is not a train.
And I mean, obviously that depends on where you are, and the right to keep and bear arms is one that we have to maintain steadfastly, and we have to, I think we've advanced so much. Arizona was the first modern state to go constitutional carry in 2010, and now over half the nation. And so we've made such great strides in the last 13 years. I'm looking forward to the next 13. And again, one of the things that I want us to do as we re-message and we really think about things, this isn't about, we like violence. Far from it. I don't want violence. I want safety. I want peace. We don't want, blood flowing on the streets. No, we just want people to not force other people to do things they don't want to do. And treat each other with respect and dignity. So hopefully that as we continue to work on that as a civil right, that we move past that, kind of like we started to move past it with, you mentioned marijuana, you mentioned cannabis, and that discussion, okay, we finally changed hearts and minds. I'd like to congratulate drugs for winning the war on drugs. And hopefully we move past that in a better sense with firearms rights and the right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, and now you weren't the only Arizonian in the room. You and your wife weren't the only ones there. We also had a guest, Raul, who we played a brief video and then had him say a few words. First off, had you met him before? Or had you heard of that case before?
I hadn't met him before, so I made sure after he spoke, I was like, man, number one, I want to meet this guy. He's a recently minted firearms instructor through one of the national organizations. I know his training coordinator, his training counselor. So, got a chance to connect with him through that, and then invited him to come on and tell his story with some length on our podcast.
Oh, cool.
And hopefully we get to do that, and I get to know him better. And I told him, I was like, man, when you get home, let's head grab lunch and get to know each other better. Dude lives like 20 miles from me.
Oh, cool. So what were your thoughts on his story? I'll tell you, but what I mean by is the reason I had him come and talk, the reason I really liked his story is, it wasn't like, I defended myself with a gun, and I hadn't really done that since I got back from Afghanistan, or gee, I'm a former special ops guy, and I, or whatever. I'm a super trained, 30-year, ninja gun guy. You know what I mean? This was just a guy. Like, this was just
a regular guy.
Just a regular guy. And by God, and thanks to God, he was able to defend himself. And that's what I really liked about his story. So what were your impressions of his story and what he said last night?
Yeah, I mean, that was my first impression as well. Obviously, the guy said he hadn't had any real formal training, and thank God that he was carrying his firearm that day. I also think he was badly injured. I mean, and through no fault of his own. That's not that he was doing a bad job or whatever. This is why we teach first aid. This is why we encourage people to get that kind of training as well. So thank God that he was able to win the fight, even badly injured. What incredible emotional fitness. And then it seems to me that, obviously the physical recovery has been hard, but emotionally he seems to have recovered well, and he's just a really resilient guy. And I was like, man, that's what an incredible story, and he has so much to teach us in all those realms.
Yeah, that was neat. That was really cool. I was really glad he came out. I'm even happier that you guys have connected. I think that would be super beneficial. I think anybody in the gun world that can get anywhere near you is super beneficial. I think what you do is so wonderful and so great. Speaking of you, speaking of active self, what do you recommend? Promote yourself for a little bit. What would you like to see people do if they've never heard of you before and they want to get better at guns or whatever? What should they do?
Well, I mean, the first and easy steps is to find us on YouTube. We have 2 channels on YouTube, Active Self-Protection and Active Self-Protection Extra. We encourage folks to come and subscribe to both of those, so then that way they can get better training, better mental reps, as well as firearms training, and, training in self-defense and legal and moral self-defense. I think, obviously, live training is great. If you're a firearms instructor and you want to get better as an instructor, we run an instructor certification program. We're full up for the year. We're probably going to open up 2024 cohorts pretty quick. And, you can find us there. We have a family of apps as well. If you don't want to connect to us through YouTube, just go on your either Google Play Store or Apple and look up Active Self-Protection or Ask Unlimited, and it'll show up right there. You can download that. That's a subscription-based service, has behind the scenes and all kinds of other stuff, and we'd love to help everyone
awesome.
Any way we can.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So it's no secret, I'm a big believer in diversifying your money with precious metal like gold and silver. But when it comes to buying precious metal, you need the right company in your corner. That's why we're partnered with the top-rated precious metal company, Goldco, because reputation does matter. Goldco is a 6 times Incorporated 5,000 winner, 2022 Company of the Year, and they help people like you and I place over $2 billion in gold and silver. And right now they're offering Gun Owners Radio supporters up to $10,000 in bonus silver when opening a qualified IRA account. This is your opportunity to protect yourself from out-of-control, corrupt government. Don't pass it up. Grab your phone today and give Goldco a call. Take action today so you don't regret it tomorrow. That's Goldco, 855-612-6354, 855-612-6354, and tell them you heard it right here on Gun Owners Radio.
Our next guest was also a very important person at Gun Prom last night. Flew all the way out from Philadelphia to be at Gun Prom and to celebrate with us and to meet and greet folks and have a good time. Great guy. Been a Second Amendment advocate, been in the arena fighting the fight for years. Adam Kraut from Second Amendment Foundation, or as I call it, SAF. That's what I call it because I'm cool. Right? Adam, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good. You've convinced me. I now call it SAF.
Excellent. The branding is working.
How you doing, man? Did you have a good time last night?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I told you when I saw you at the event before it really kind of got started, you guys put it on an impressive event for the short period of time you guys have been around. So I had a great time.
Well, good. Thank you very much. I know I got a lot of feedback from folks who said they very much enjoyed meeting you. So thank you so much for making yourself available. You run a big organization. You guys are very busy. You do a lot of things. So for you to take time and come to our little backwood state here in California, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And it's by no means a little backwood thing. You know, at the end of the day, the local level, as you've seen with your project and your group, that's where a lot of this, work gets done. So yeah, I mean, I've got plenty on my plate, but if we didn't take the time to work with groups your size and, acknowledge the work you're doing, there's plenty of things that would not get accomplished. So thank you guys, actually.
You bet. So what are you excited about? What is either, in the gun world or Second Amendment world or with SAF, or what are you excited about?
Well, I think, there's any number of things that I'm excited about, with the organization, having been here since the beginning of November last year. We've undergone a rebranding, more of a brand update, not so much a rebranding. We've been looking at some of the programs internally. We started a new program, the Capture the Flag Project, which is a legal program designed to challenge red flag laws based on the evidentiary standard or lower evidentiary standard that's employed in several states.
Talk about that. What does that mean? Because, man, red flag laws, I mean, we're like, it's like ground zero here. I mean, our city attorney in San Diego has embraced these things. She's run with them. Like a third of the red flags that have been, so it might have been 2/3. I think it's 2/3 of the red flag laws that have been issued in California have been issued here in San Diego. It's crazy. She wrote a national op-ed in the Huffington Post about how great they are. So it's been a big deal. It was a big deal in last year's sheriff's race. So what is that? Talk to us about red flags. What's the idea there? Why are they bad? How are we gonna kill this thing?
Sure. So the red flag laws, I mean, the first one you had was in 1999 in Connecticut, and really they became popular in the last, I'd say, 5 years is when you started to see them spring up. I think there's currently 21 states in the District of Columbia that have them in their books at this point. And, you know, these are laws where people, police officers, family members, sometimes people that are not at all related, administrators or, eight degrees removed from any kind of personal relationship with the individual can petition the court for a risk protection order or extreme risk violence protection order, whatever they want to call it. And if the court signs it, it's without you, the person being accused of potentially being a threat. The court issues an order which allows the police to confiscate your firearms. You get a hearing scheduled usually within 2 weeks or 21 days, depending on the state. And in that interim period of time, you're deprived of your right to bear arms and sometimes even acquire new arms, and I think almost all those instances. And based on a petition that's signed against you by somebody. In 6 of those states, the evidentiary standard is less than probable cause. And if you look at what the Constitution requires for search warrants, it's probable cause. So these evidentiary standards, like in Maryland, for instance, it's reasonable grounds. And that's essentially like, well, I guess that kind of makes sense. So let's go ahead and do that. And when we're talking about constitutional rights, of course, that's just not a permissible evidentiary standard to apply prior to depriving somebody. The best way to kind of describe red flag laws for people that are unfamiliar with them, for whatever it's worth, is if you think of kind of Minority Report and the precogs, right, how they predict crime. Yeah. That's in essence what this is. It's you're being deprived of your rights prior to actually violating any kind of law on this notion that you may potentially be a threat to yourself or others.
It's absolutely fascinating to me that these things have taken hold. I think that the marketing of red flag laws is really responsible for that. That the way their fans explain it, I think makes them appear reasonable, and I think people kind of go, all right, yeah, we want to, and I think they do. The strength of red flag laws comes from its marketing, I think, is really what I'm trying to say there. But the reality of it, and in practice, they're bad. I hear about it all the time. If people got as many phone calls about the abuse of red flag laws that I do, I can't imagine anybody before them. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. John Correia, we were just talking to John Correia. You flew in from Pennsylvania. John came over from Arizona. Raul came over from Arizona. The big guy here, John Petrolino, came over from New Jersey. None of you guys could carry. And John definitely brought that up when I just talked to him. Basically, my question is, what are your thoughts on reciprocity, and what do you think that's going to take for CCW reciprocity?
That's a tough question. That one's always heavily debated. You have people that, I guess let me stop and walk this back for a moment. During the Trump administration, there was a bill in Congress that would have set a national standard for that. It obviously did not pass. And you get into a fairly interesting argument as to, states' rights on that issue. Should states be forced to recognize everybody else's permit verbatim? Should they be able to pick and choose? So if, for instance, California has training requirements, should they require states that they have reciprocity with to have, similar training standards. You look at what Bruin said, and there is a right to bear arms outside the home. Does that foreclose states that were not issuing non-residence permits from continuing to not issue those permits? I'm sitting here today. I don't have the answer to that. I think that might make for some very interesting challenges as some of this stuff starts to get litigated. And as far as what the legislatures do, of course, they could very easily do the right thing, and they could do it so that those states that issue permits and have standards that are similar to their own state, if that's what they want to impose, I guess in theory they could do that. But it would be nice to have reciprocity. It would be nice to be able to fly out here with a gun to carry. The problem I would have living in Pennsylvania is that I would not have anything that would be compliant with the roster, I don't think.
Well, you could bring it out. You could even if you don't have something compliant with the roster, you could bring it to California. You just couldn't. Dealers just can't sell it. That roster just affects what dealers can or can't sell. So you could bring it with the roster, but
that shows my ignorance on California law.
Well, listen, you got to. It's so ridiculous. There's so many. It's funny when I go to other states. I remember I went on a trip to Alaska, and I went into this like little trinket store, and this dude had an AR on the wall behind the cash register, like it's normal, And in Alaska, It was, and so I started talking to him about it because it was a trinket store, and that's boring. And he, I started telling him, I'm from California. This is what you'd have to do to own an AR in California, and he about 10 seconds into it, he's looking at me like I am completely insane. He's glass-eyed and like, what? You have to do what? So I mean, this stuff doesn't make any sense, and I don't think that's an accident. I don't think that the complexity of the ridiculous laws that they make out here, that's not an accident. They don't care if you understand it or don't understand it. So, but back to reciprocity. It seems to me it has to be a legislative fix. But John kind of brought up the idea of a legal fix. Do you think? What do you think? Is this something the legislature, Congress, they're going to have to fix, or is there a lawsuit there, or like you were saying, we're still kind of debating that.
I think it could go one of either way. Honestly, I think there's probably three potential avenues. You could have the feds, Congress, actually pass something, whether that would be subject to challenge or not. Off the top of my head, I don't know. Maybe you could have the states on their own say, yes, okay, we are going to extend reciprocity to everybody who has received a carry permit in their state. You could potentially have them also maybe have a little bit of a higher bar, like I was saying earlier. Your state needs to have training requirements similar to our state. As I was telling some people last night, in Pennsylvania, for instance, there's no training requirement. It's $20, and as long as I pass the PICS check, which we're still point of contact state, I get my carry permit for 5 years. The legal avenue, there potentially is one there too. If you were to, let's say, a resident of a state wanted to carry a firearm in another state, and that state said, well, you need a permit issued by us, but we don't issue non-resident permits, that would potentially be subject to challenge, given that there is a right to bear arms out. The Supreme Court has confirmed there is a right to bear arms outside the home, which was very evident in the plain language of the Second Amendment. So I think it could go, one of the three of those ways, and I think it's just a matter of which was the first avenue that gets selected there.
Adam, thank you so much. How can people support SAF? How can people get to know SAF more and support SAF?
Yeah, head on over to our website, saf.org is probably the best way.
Thank you, man. It was great seeing you last night. Thank you so much for coming out.
Have you ever wanted to get a pilot's license? Well, here in San Diego, pilots can fly almost every day, which makes San Diego one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly with San Diego Flight Training International. You can check out the deals just for the gun owner radio listeners. 1 hour of ground school, 1 hour of flight with an instructor, and yep, you get to fly. Normally a $400 hit. They'll do it for you for $350 if you tell them you've been listening to Gun Owners Radio. Give them a call at 858-569-1822. That's 858-569-1822. Or just go to SDFTI.
One of the easiest ways to support what we're doing here is, we just talked about Gold Co. and we just talked about San Diego Flight Training International School. One of the best things to do is give them your business. Give them a call, send them an email. at least, learn more about them and see if that's something for you. Even if you don't end up taking a class, it'd be nice to, if you just inquired and said, hey, heard you on Gun Owners Radio, wanted to know a little bit more about it, but hopefully you decide to, buy something from Goldco or actually take a class from San Diego Flight Training that would help us out tremendously.
Or offer it to a friend.
Or offer it to a
Get
friend.
a gift certificate. Maybe you're not interested in flying right now. Get a gift certificate. Give it to them as a birthday gift. It works.
So, John, what do you think of those interviews?
Pretty good. Yeah, I thought it was great. Getting a chance to hang out with both those cats this last weekend was really fantastic. And, Adam, it's very exciting. They have Gun Rights Policy Conference coming up next week, so he was talking about that over the weekend. And that's super exciting. I'm bummed I can't be there. So many of our friends, people that we know.
Talk about it more. So tell people what is Gun Rights Policy Conference?
It's the place where you go not for gear, right? So if you look at like the NRA annual meeting or SHOT Show, those are places where you could go for gear and gadgets and trinkets and fun stuff
Toys,
like that.
right.
Yeah, toys. This is more the litigation, legislation, what's going on socially. Tons of attorneys are coming out to speak. Mark Smith from Four Boxes Diner, that's one of the popular channels that's out there. He's going to be speaking. I know a bunch of other attorneys that are coming out. I think John Dillon is supposed to be speaking as well. And you also have a bunch of the Second Amendment media types as well. Charlie Cook is going to be there. Amanda Suffolk.
Charlie. I
Yeah,
miss
Charlie
Charlie.
Cook's not even listening right now, so forget that.
Well, then never mind. We're not going to talk about
Forget Charlie.
it. Good dude. He's like he's the fourth guy missing in the crew. He was like the fourth horse of the apocalypse here that was missing over Gun Prom. Miss you, Charlie. Anyway, go ahead.
And this is a good place to get together and gain a perspective what's going on nationally, what the victories have been, what they mean, and then what that means going forward. So it's an event that I definitely wish I could go to. I can't make it. I know Adam is tirelessly preparing for it. And also before the day before GRPC, it's on Friday, so this coming up Friday, is the AmCon. It's the Alternative Multimedia, conference. And it's another good place for people that are in 2A media or getting into it, whether it's writing or it's video, whatever your medium is. This is a conference for you as well. You can look that all up.
So anybody can go, or how does this work?
I think anybody can go, but you have to register in advance. I'm not sure 100% if you have to be an SAF member, but SAF membership I think is like $15 a year.
Join.
Yeah, join.
Just
I mean,
join.
look, that's like $150 a year will get you a life membership. So you could join both SAF and Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms for like $300 total for life membership. So there's no reason to not to. At minimum, sign up for their newsletters. They have an investigative journalism project over there that Lee Williams, he's a friend of the show, right? Lee's been out on your show a couple times, and he does fantastic work for SAF as well. I can't speak more highly about the group. So
So it's you meet and greet folks that are involved in doing the work, but then there's like a series of lectures, that sort of thing, and it's like it's a whole weekend of cool Second Amendment stuff.
It is, and it's also a lot. It turns into like a family reunion as well. So you're meeting up with friends that you've had for years, and for some people, it's like people that you've been connecting with for years that you've never met in flesh, and it's like you have these business relationships, and finally get to, break bread or shake hands and kiss babies. It's nice to have that personal touch. So I know over the pandemic, they went virtual at one point, and then they went back into person. I'm really glad that they went back into person because I feel that networking opportunity is invaluable.
That's awesome. Well, I haven't been either, and you have me convinced that I should go. So I think I'm going to go. Rich went though. Where is it this year?
It's in Arizona, so
it's in Arizona.
Yep. If you didn't have something to do, I'd say go. But I know
I got something to do.
You're a world traveler.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Arizona's just a hop, skip, and
Sure.
and
How many days is it?
It's Friday night, I believe, is their welcome reception, and then Saturday and then Sunday afternoon. So Saturday there's like a lunch that's provided. You get your lunch, and then that evening I believe there's like a cocktail hour-ish thing, like kind of like dinner. And then the next day, everything is usually wrapped up by, I think, maybe noon or 1. I haven't really looked as closely at the schedule because I've kind of got the FOMO. I'm not going to be there, and so I haven't been paying as close attention to the schedule. But everything is on. If you go to the Second Amendment Foundation's website, saf.org, I believe it is, they've got all that information there.
Did you have any interesting conversations last night?
I did. They were all interesting. So
What stuck out? Anything stick out?
What stuck out? Well, first of all, it was great to finally meet John Dillon in person. He took me in as a refugee. I was a man without a country, and he took me into his table.
He's a good dude.
He's a very good dude. So just getting a chance to catch up with him and hear about what he's into was great. And a bunch of the other folks at San Diego County Gun Owners. It was just overall, it was a really good experience, and I'm glad I came out for it.
I'm glad you did too. And you sold some of your books. Talk a little bit about your book.
Sure. I've got a book. It's called Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. It's a 101 level book to get people up and going and started on using a firearm or gun safety. And it's a good primer. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a substitute for training because there's no such thing as a substitute for training. But people that might be apprehensive about going to a classroom or getting not really sure where to go, I think this is a good way to get them started and kind of break the ice. Or it could act as a good text for instructors that are out there as well. So that's out on Amazon. If you're interested in getting it, you can get it there. You can get it as a Kindle with color illustrations. And it's also sold, if you don't want to buy off of Amazon, I believe if you go to the Gun for Hire Woodland Park Range website, they sell it off of their website. So they were kind enough to take in some of my books and sell them there.
Nice. Give me a success story about your book. What's a awesome conversation or some feedback, or what's a success story?
So Rob Campbell, so I don't know if you know Rob, is Amanda Suffolk's brother, right?
Yes.
So the co-host of Eye on the Target Radio. And he read the book, and he's very critical about books. And if somebody writes a book and he reads it and they gave it to him and he thinks it's a garbage book, you're like, you took time from me, you stole a piece of my life. I'm paraphrasing. He says it much better. And he said, your book is great because you don't have to do anything. You just read the book and you're good to go. Set it and forget it. So I thought that was a really great compliment, especially coming from Rob, because he's an instructor. He's been an instructor forever. He's got an NRA number, I believe, that's like the former number convention. So, I don't know what digits his membership's in, but he's been in this game for a long time. And getting compliments from him was absolutely huge.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, that's cool, man. That's very, very cool. I'm glad that you're I really think I love your work. I love your articles. I love the fact that you dig in deep to issues that get glossed over or ignored too much. And, I guess if you turn on the news, you hear, 15, 16 sentences about whatever the heck's going on. Then you change the channel, and that news, covers the exact same thing. And it's, 15, 16 slightly different sentences, You go out and actually find news. Go, hey, you know what? This is something people need to know about, and it's not being reported anywhere else. And I think that's a credit to you and your writing. But I think that's one of the best things about this whole internet. Basically, the communication revolution is you get talented people. 40 years ago, you couldn't have done this. You couldn't have done anything like this.
Probably not. I was very young.
I mean, short of just writing a newsletter and kind of passing it out at a grocery store parking lot. Now you get to tell, hey, here's an important thing you need to know, and it might apply to your neighborhood.
Well, yeah, and I'm very fortunate, Michael, because I get to come on as a freelance writer with all of these publications. So my hat's off to, and many thanks to Cam Edwards at Bearing Arms and Freddie Reel at Ammo Land. the guys at news2a.com, tremendous people, Dan Zimmerman at The Truth About Guns. So I have an opportunity to work with all of these great personalities that really they're saying, we like you enough to put your words on our page. So, but parallel to that, as you're saying, like if I didn't have an outlet, I could make my own outlet. And that would be my advice to anybody listening in. Like if you have something to say, go and say it. You could set up a blog or whatever you want to do. I had somebody approach me on Friday. They called, gave me a phone call. Hey, I got an idea. And I said, I don't have the time for your idea, but you got this. You can do it. Go sign up for it. So that's my advice.
That's awesome.
The fight for the Second Amendment is also happening in Orange County and Inland Empire. Orange County gun owners and Inland Empire gun owners lead the fight on the city and county levels to defend and protect your self-defense rights. How do they do it? They do it by fundraising, getting local pro-gun candidates elected. Become a member today. Go to iegunowners.com/join, or if you're in Orange County, that's OCGunowners.com/join, and join the growing number of responsible gun owners stepping up to defend our Second Amendment rights. That's iegunowners.com or OCGunowners.com.
Winners, prizes, and events. Subscribe and win. Subscribe to our email list and win some swag. This week's winner, Kelly McCoy. Congratulations, Kelly. Congratulations. Email prizes@gunownersradio.com to claim your t-shirt or hat. Gun Owners Symposium 2, Electric Boogaloo, is happening at the Gun Show on October 21st and October 22nd. That's Gun Owners Symposium 2. It's happening at the Gun Show on October 21st, 22nd. Good news about the Gun Show, Dave.
What's that?
We're actually going to have guns at the Gun Show.
Where is it going to be?
It's going to be out at the Masonic Lodge in
same place last time.
Same place last time. Out off of Jackson, which is right on the edge of like it's right on the edge of San Diego. It's still in the city of San Diego. It's very close to like Navajo and Jackson.
Yeah.
So, but very good news. So this is going to be the second gun. You know, we lost the Gun Show because of the state of California, because of Newsom, and you know it's hard to rebuild. So we truly appreciate everybody who realizes, hey, this is a big heavy lift. It's not going to be like it was immediately, but we're getting there, and we're proud to be a part of it. So a big part of what we are doing, and this was Rich's brainchild. Rich, such a good dude, and it was such a good idea. The Gun Owners Symposium is we're going to bring in guest speakers. We're going to have some fun. So what is a symposium? It's a series of presentations to educate and engage the community, the Second Amendment community, and that is a bonus of attending the Gun Show.
Well, how'd you get guns back?
I'll tell you in a second. But first, the Gun Show. So it's not in addition to the Gun Show. So all you got to do is buy a ticket to the Gun Show, and boom, you're a part of the symposium, which is very, very cool. So there were some disagreement as to what could and couldn't happen according to the city of San Diego. So we worked hard with the city of San Diego, and we realized what can and can't happen. And we're going to work hard with the gun shops, and they're going to come out and promote their wares. So there will be a bunch of tables with firearms on display, and there will be resources for everybody. If you want to buy a gun, if you want to buy a particular kind of gun, it's going to be available this time. We were very limited last time. We have very few firearms. Unfortunately, there were a lot more accessories. But yeah, I got to just be honest. One of the things that was kind of bothering me is people would show up. I mean, this gun show was like what? I don't know. Was it $15? I think it was $10 or $15.
Well, it was 15, but they give a coupon that
was
a
a couple
free
bucks
coupon.
left.
Yeah.
All right, so
like 12.
People would show up and it didn't wow them, and I'm going, guys, help us out here. We're trying to rebuild this thing. It's just easy to come and criticize, when you've done absolutely nothing to help. So what I'm asking is. Let's everybody put on our positive attitude hats, and let's everybody go, hey, you know what? I see the bigger picture. I see the long game here. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to show up and get what I can out of it. Maybe you see some folks that you haven't seen in a while. Maybe you get to meet some folks that you've never met before. Maybe you get to sit on, one of the symposium guest speakers is particularly interesting. I don't know. But the point is we're trying to grow this thing. We're trying to make it bigger. So, show up, spend a couple of hours, do what you can to support the thing. We're trying to get this thing to grow. You can't just wave a magic wand and boom, it's the best gun show that's ever been.
You know what they need to do?
What?
It's going to bring the people in. You ready?
Go.
Taco truck.
Oh, taco truck.
They needed food.
You're speaking my language. Are you a rolled taco person or just a taco person?
It depends on where it's at.
Really? So it's
Yeah.
not. So it doesn't. There's not.
I'll do
there's-
both.
Neither one is inherently
I don't
better.
discriminate. No. As long as there's no
When it comes to
kochihashi.
tacos, you don't discriminate.
No.
Gosh, that's such an open-minded policy. Please. Tell you what, people should learn from you.
That's it.
I've come to love. I've come to love rolled tacos because you can dip them in salsa better. Yeah, and for me, tacos are just a salsa delivery unit. So
I'm all about the guacamole.
got nothing against guacamole. Well, so that's the other, rolled tacos covered with guacamole. Yep. Mm-hmm. I should have taken you, John. You know what?
Oh, you're letting them down.
I know.
Do
I
you have
should
any good Mexican food at all?
No.
We had a good time, Michael.
We had a great time. We went to Tom
you did a little bit of
Ham's.
veiling. You were like pretending that you didn't. Like, wait, what happened? We went to Tom.
Yeah.
Right.
What was I pretending?
What you were like? Oh, I didn't know it was brunch, and I was like, Michael, you don't have to. You don't have to pretend that you didn't. You didn't have to pretend you didn't know it was brunch. She's like, we walked in, they're like, Mr. Schwartz, your brunch table's right here. That didn't happen.
That is
but
a filthy lie.
That totally didn't happen. But he was the shock and awe. He's like, "Why? There's nothing wrong with a couple of men having brunch together." I'm like, there isn't. Like, and I looked at
Welcome
the
to
waitress.
California.
I said, I'm gonna destroy it, and she was like taken aback.
She had to call the cops on
She had-
John. We had to get John removed forcibly.
They used the word "sir" and it was bad.
Tom Ham's restaurant is one of my favorite places on Shelter Island. It is fantastic. The view, the food, the service is fantastic. The owners are wonderful. I like it. So we were talking. We were like, "Hey, we got some time between when you had to check out your hotel." Sorry, I'll take you to Tom Ham's. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And I forgot it was Sunday, and I didn't realize they had a brunch. So John and I had brunch together.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
With Matthias.
Matthias, the German, as I call him. And it was great. It was a good time.
It's very sweet.
It was
It was a 3-plate day for me. I'm going to be honest with you.
What stuck out the most?
What, as far as the food, the company, it was us, man. 100%. Now, the food was great. I thought it was phenomenal. They have a, omelet station, the little pasta station, and then I don't know what you call it, the seafood bar is like a pile of legs.
That braised pork hash.
Yeah, I took a hard left turn because of the potato, man. I'm trying to watch my girlish figure.
3 plates? You're trying to...
It was all protein, bro. It was all protein.
Getting
It was
swole.
3
I like
plates of protein and fat. I'm good. I'm in.
Well, it was good. Tom Ham's was excellent. I should have next time we are going to go have some of the best Mexican you've ever had. I assert that San Diego has the best Mexican food in the world, including Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
And it's totally unique. It's not what I don't think it's unique to Mexico. It's kind of San Diego specific Mexican food.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah. First time someone told me that burritos aren't a Mexican thing. Burritos were an American invention around Mexican food. Look, we're talking about food again. We always do this. Dave,
See,
you're
so
supposed to be
Didn't say a word. I just let you roll.
you're supposed to be regulated.
I heard John mention the pasta station, so I thought we were going to make, go to Spaghetti Island.
I skipped the pasta station. Anyway, okay, so coming up, we're going to talk about a very interesting. You want to give a 10-second preview?
Sure. New Jersey has gained the right to carry, but we're dealing with problems. There are lawsuits, there are stays, there are injunctions, and there are interactions with police.
We're going to talk about that. We're probably going to touch on the Hunter Biden gun charges, and we're going to talk about the SB2 and what's happening there. And we'll touch on a couple other things, and we'll try to stay away from food.
Hey, is there a better tool that empowers a woman to defend against an attacker that's bigger and stronger? That's why it's so important for women to learn how to defend themselves with the most effective self-defense tool ever invented. For women led by women, the Not Me program is designed to help with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It's free. Sign up, go to notmesd.org.
John Petrolino, the
Yes,
Pen
sir.
Patriot. So you gave us a preview about the article that you wrote. We want to talk more about it. So what's going on in the great state of New Jersey?
So I did. It's actually it's a 4-part series. I did 4 articles on this, and there was a TikTok personality. His name's Evo Joe, and he did a video about an interaction that he had with a police officer. And so, just to give some backstory here, in New Jersey, we are now getting permits to carry. We can carry. New Jersey did roll out a so-called carry killer or Bruin response law, and many portions of that law are being challenged, have been challenged. There have been 2 TROs, a preliminary injunction, and a partial stay of the injunction. So things are...
What's the gist of the carry killer law?
The carry killer law is, like I said years ago to you, back when I was in Connecticut over a year ago, you can't carry within 1,000 feet of a light bulb or 1,000 feet of a mailbox, right? So they don't want you carrying on any property, basically any privately owned property, unless you have affirmative, permission to do so. So, like, if you want to go to the supermarket, they need to post that they're a gun zone versus a gun-free zone. It's the same garbage.
Very
Sounds
very
like-
similar to
yeah.
SB2, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's, and I think if you make a parallel and you look at that and you look at what our friends are doing in Massachusetts, they have a similar a bill that they're dealing with. Same thing with New York's law, right? So this is all from the same anti-liberty factory. Like, this is all coming out. And one of the things that they did in New Jersey was they said into the statute, they wrote, if you're a permit to carry holder, you can't carry a loaded firearm in your car. So they want you to carry your firearm unloaded and cased.
So they want you handling within the confines of a car when you get out to carry it.
Yeah, so do you
Okay.
know what it's like if you have to go from every stop that you're going along your way in your day? And not only that, you have to deal with, like, angry Karens in New Jersey hurling mochachinos at you if they see you handling a firearm. Like, do you know how many people are going to get, just swatted over that? So that was challenged. There was 2 cases, the Siegel case and the Coons case. They both have been combined. 2 TROs were issued, shooting down most of the provisions of the law. Then the preliminary injunction was like a 120-page decision, I think, maybe more. Federal court, New Jersey. And basically it said, no, you can carry in your car, you can carry here, you can carry there, you can carry almost everywhere. Not everywhere, but there's a lot of finer details here. You really do need to look this all up to see where you can and can't carry. But then the state appealed that injunction up to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Third Circuit Court of Appeals, in a 2-1 opinion, partially stayed the injunction, saying, now we side with the government, which was very sad. But one of the things that they didn't stay was the car carry, and they didn't stay this private property carry that you need the permission up front to go into the supermarket. And again, you got to look this stuff up on your own and check with an attorney if you want a more astute read on it. So anyhow, the car carry matter was, it's not put to bed, but it's stayed. It's enjoined, preliminarily enjoined. So that law is not in effect. And this guy, Evo Joe, got pulled over for alleged speeding. And, the police officer pulls him over and he talks to the police officer, and he tells the police officer that he's carrying a firearm. And that was a provision of our carry killer law, is that now we have to tell the police if we have a permit to carry, whether or not we have a firearm. So now get this, Michael. If you don't have a permit to carry, but you have your firearm in the trunk of your car, let's say unloaded, you don't have to tell the police. But me, if I have a permit to carry and I'm not even carrying a firearm on my person, but mine's in the trunk of a car, I have to tell the police. It's all about the fact that I'm a permit to carry holder. So the law is total garbage. Yeah. So the police officer told him, he went back to his squad car, called into a sergeant. The sergeant gave bad information. He's like, they can't carry. No, they can't carry. So he goes back to Joe's vehicle and he says, listen, you can't carry your gun on you. while you're in the car? And Joe's like, I took a class and they said that we could. And the cop's like, no, you can't. You need to know the law. You need to educate yourself. You're not allowed to do this. And Joe's like, listen, I mean, unfortunately, I was just pulled over the other day and a couple of times since I've had my permit. And I think he's into street racing. So Joe probably has more than enough run-ins with the police doing car stuff in Jersey, right?
I was going to say, how does this guy get
Right, yeah, he's
anyway.
a street racing guy, right?
Beside the
You can
point.
check him out. Right, you can check him out. Evo Joe is Daily Driven Dream Cars or whatever on TikTok. He's a nice guy, super nice guy. Anyhow, and he's like, well, no. He's like, I've never had a problem with this. And the police officer's like, listen, you need to know the law. You have to have that unloaded. The ammunition needs to be locked away from the firearm, which that's not even the law anyhow, but that's what he's telling Joe. And then at the end of it, he says that, in lieu of arresting you for unlawfully possessing a firearm, right? In lieu of arresting you, I'm writing you a speeding ticket for going 46 and a 30 or whatever it was, or 35, and I'm working a traffic grant or a speeding grant or whatever. So I was like, holy cow. So this is all his video on TikTok. And I went through, and first I wrote about the video just as a, hey, this is what happened. And then I Freedom of Information Act requested, which is really, it's called an Oprah in New Jersey, all of the information. So I got to the bottom of it. And first of all, when I went and approached the police department where this had happened, they did send comment. They're like, nope, we gave the wrong information. And we're sorry. We take ownership for that. It's never going to happen again type of deal. So the police department did take ownership very early on in the process once I stepped on the scene and started talking to him about it. But my issue is the ancillary stuff. Like the cop was working this traffic grant. Freedom of Information Act requested that. And in fact, his overtime or his pay was getting paid through this grant program for writing speeding tickets. Like, to me, that's a program that's suspect in its own. Like, it's a grant for writing speeding tickets. So now is every speeding ticket born from that may be suspect? Yeah. That's the affirmative defense that I would use. And then after all that, I did get the body cam and the dash cam videos from the police department. And they're posted on my YouTube page. You can go and check that out, thepenpatriot.com. You can watch the interaction. And actually the big takeaway from this is this actually was a great interaction between these guys because even though the police officer was wrong, he thought that he was right. He could have arrested Joe. It would have been a bad arrest, but he didn't do what almost every other Jersey cop might do when the word gun is mentioned or carry. And he said, I'm going to use this as a teachable moment. And it's funny because he taught him the wrong stuff, but Joe didn't walk away in handcuffs. So to me, that's a big W. And Joe was very respectful. He asserted himself a couple times. Says, no, I looked into the law. I took a class. And the cop's like, no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And then they went their separate ways. He wrote out the ticket or whatever. And, Joe will have his day in court to challenge the ticket, which I'm 99.9% sure he's going to challenge the ticket. But this led to other questions. What advice and information is coming from the Attorney General of New Jersey and the New Jersey State Police to the police departments about these preliminary injunctions and these stays? This is a big deal. You get arrested for anything involving a firearm in New Jersey, you're staring at damn near a minimum mandatory of 3 to 5 years in prison. And yeah. And that was, people become victims of the gun law. Over here in California, we were talking about that. He said, California, you don't have a permit to carry, or a CCW is what you call it here. You don't have a CCW in California and you get caught with a firearm. It's a misdemeanor, right?
As long as you're not committing other things.
Right.
Right.
So I'm just, there's not legal advice and whatever, call an attorney. But it's a misdemeanor. If you were unable to get a permit in the past, you kind of can roll that dice and say, hey, that's the one freebie that you might have. I'm not suggesting you do that by any stretch of the imagination, but in New Jersey, they're throwing you in jail. You're going to lose your gun rights. You're going to lose your voting rights. And it's going to be putting you in a precarious situation trying to get a job. Yeah.
It really, it's amazing. It's harder to be a gun owner than any other thing out there. Any other, they're not throwing people in jail for, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's the only civil right that you right now that you're getting thrown in jail for.
Well,
they're not
yeah.
throwing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not.
We did have John Crump on the show a couple of weeks ago talking about him getting silenced by a federal judge, though.
Yeah.
So let's not kid ourselves. There are people out there that want to silence us.
Yeah.
But he didn't go to jail.
But it's like you get like tax advocates and homeowners advocates and whatever you name it. You're not going to jail. Like they're not. I mean, if you don't pay your taxes, eventually you can end up in jail. But even so, I mean, that's pretty extreme. Here, they're pretty willy-nilly just being like, look, we want to make this so ridiculous tough or so ridiculously complex and so ridiculously tough to comply. We just want to start throwing people in jail.
Yeah, and I reached out to the Attorney General's office, and I've traditionally and historically not been kind to the Attorney General at all. So they write back to me sometimes, like when they want to. When I really have them against the wall, they'll usually write back to me. Wrote to the state police, no answer from either before my last article rolled out. But I did get a response back from the state police. Actually, of all days, it was like yesterday during the day. I'm like, what are you people working on a Saturday? You don't want to work during the week. But anyhow, I get a response from somebody from the New Jersey State Police. And it was a veiled response basically saying, and that's kind of a big question to ask us. And the question was, what directives are you sending out to these municipalities about the Siegel and Coons cases concerning the TROs, the preliminary injunction, and the stay? And here's the thing. We're going back to court. In October 25th is going to be the hearing on the stay up at the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. So I'm going to try to go to that. It's going to be in Philadelphia. So the Siegel and Coons cases are both going to be heard then. And that's both of those. ANJRPC and is one of the cases, and SAFFPC and CNJFO and NJ2AS is the other case, just to give credit where credit is due. But this is a quagmire, and I put a lot of this on the state because they're supposed to let these jurisdictions know what's up.
If people want to read it, where do they go?
BearingArms.com, it's over there, but if you check out my socials and everything like that, you'll be able to find a link easier that way probably.
A lot of companies waste an enormous amount of money on marketing. The design is excellent, the photos are beautiful, and your website looks great. But it's just not getting you any customers. Why? Because you don't have the words that make people buy. But now you can fix that with Sage Tree. Sage Tree can help you find the words and make it easy for your customers to understand what you do and how to buy from you. Stop wasting money today and schedule a call. Getting started is real easy. Just visit sagetree.com, click on the Schedule an Appointment button, that's sagetree.com, and click on that Schedule a Call button now.
So we have our own version of what you were just talking about, our carry killer SB2, which really stinks, and it's about to go into, it's about to be signed by the governor, but it won't go into effect until January 1st. And with a lot of hard work, we'll have an injunction on January 2nd.
Hopefully, man.
So, because it's really, really horrible. But the other thing that folks aren't really hearing as much about, and as bad as that is, this other one's pretty bad. It's an 11% excise tax on guns and ammo, and as if that's not bad enough, because I'm hearing from gun shop owners, hey man, this is going to affect us.
Absolutely.
Because we've seen in the last over the last about 12 months, year and a half, the industry's taken a hit. Anything related to firearms, anything related to anything kind of luxury has taken a hit because everything else costs so much money. I mean, people's grocery bill is going from whatever $500 a month to $850 a month, and there's still the same amount of groceries. I mean, this inflation thing is real. So an 11% tax on all this is bad in and of itself. But have you heard of this, John?
Briefly, I haven't dove too deep into it, but I caught some wisps of it. And here's the thing about the tax: there shouldn't be any tax on any of this stuff, in my opinion.
Well, it's very similar to a poll tax, right?
Right. It's exactly what it is. And outside of, and I dare say, the Pittman-Robertson Act, there shouldn't be any other outside forces on Second Amendment related industry. And we could argue for or against Pittman Robertson.
Tell people what that is.
Basically, it's a tax that everybody pays, but you're not going to feel it. It's on the front end. So the dealers and really it's the manufacturers, I believe, that feel that tax. They're the ones that pay it. But it's what goes into our conservation efforts of our parks and our forests. As a matter of fact, there should be signs at all of these properties that everybody uses where it says, a portion of the funds raised to maintain this place was raised by gun owners.
Yeah,
I think
thanks
that's
to gun
important.
owners.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
So
that's where I was going to. This 11%, where's that going?
to some garbage program, I'm sure.
It is,
It's
but
going to fix the roads.
It's no, it's even a little worse than that though. So they actually specify that they're going to give it out to 501c3s that prevent gun violence.
That's perfect, and I'm sure that those people still don't have huge salaries.
Well, but it's even worse than that. A lot of those 501, with a 501c3, there are things you can and can't do,
Right?
And there are ways you can and can't support initiatives and parties and elected officials, that sort of thing. This is these groups absolutely do advocacy for anti-gun, initiatives, laws, regulations, politicians, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just fleecing gun owners in California, 11%, so they can take that money and get other people elected.
Sure, yeah, and
who will vote against their gun owners.
Shills, exactly. And those organizations, you mean to tell me that none of that money that gets cycled in isn't going to end up in somebody else's, like you said, campaign?
Right. Well, yeah,
in the end, like, come on.
Yeah,
it's embezzlement, allegedly,
an extortion.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is bad. This is a really bad thing conceptually, not just. Maybe you got a couple of bucks, and maybe a 11% hike in buying a gun isn't going to kill you. Okay, fine, but the big picture on this thing is way, way more than just 11%. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more going on here.
What other tax is that high, though, Michael? 11%.
Oh, it's bad.
It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah,
it doesn't make a difference if it's New Jersey.
I agree with you.
Or California. You have groups of people in both states and others as well that all they do all day long are trying to figure out a way to stop gun ownership. And when one doesn't work, there's three more back there right behind it that just keep it up and keep it up and keep it up. And they're not going to give up any more than we're going to give up. But every time you turn around, when you think you've knocked one down, there's three more right there.
Whack-a-mole.
That's right, because these people make serious money coming up with these ideas for the left to try to stop us. And that's it in a nutshell.
And but the 11%, think about it in any other arena, if they were like, hey, look, we're going to take 11% of your, I don't know, like for the most extreme, we're going to charge, every abortion is going to get charged 11% more so that we can take that money and give it to pro-choice 501c3s, and I'll tell you what, the abortion folks would lose their minds. Mm-hmm. Actually, the pro-life folks in this case would lose their minds. Or if it were the other way around, let's say it was the other way around. Let's say they said, hey, that's more accurate. 11% of every abortion goes to a pro-life. The abortion folks would lose their minds. Yeah, mm-hmm. I got to keep track of my own analogies here.
I gotcha.
I wish gun owners would be that passionate, right? I wish they'd be that, but it's like, oh, well, we'll just get an attorney to handle it.
Be a gunner, you'll be level-headed.
Right? I wish we were a little more, just as level-headed, but a little more passionate, a little more mm-hmm. But we get lazy.
We're not fighters.
Not enough of us. Not enough of us are fighters. Now, I have talked to, some of the folks. Of course, we work with Firearms Policy Coalition primarily mm-hmm. when we do lawsuits. I think there's a way forward, when it comes to lawsuits with 11%. But man,
well, joining San Diego County gun owners is a prime example.
Join San Diego County gun owners. $10. There you go.
You can't. I bet you your brunch didn't cost $10. I bet you couldn't have paid for your brunch for $10.
No, we
No,
couldn't.
no.
You know what I'm
Parking.
saying?
Parking last night.
Parking last night.
$10. That's it.
But I'm just saying,
Right.
that's the frustration, because I know it, all the people out there listening are just as frustrated as we are.
Yeah.
They just can't seem to kick a $10 bill.
Well,
Somebody's got to do
easiest,
the
most
work.
effective thing.
Somebody's got to do the work. You can't do it
yep.
for free.
It's the and just the fact that, and I've talked about this before. I was doing advocacy in favor of the Second Amendment before San Diego County gun owners. Guess how many people cared? Not nearly as many as
You
when
actually count. I mean, there's not that. I mean, you don't have to go very far.
But that's all you got. You got people and money. When it comes to politics, those are your only tools. You got people and money.
But when you have people banging on your door asking for your guns, then they'll say, "Whoa, wait a minute." But then it's too late. Why be reactive when you can be proactive?
That's right. Activism is the ounce of prevention.
I'm telling you.
A lawsuit is about $1.5 million a cure.
Yeah, exactly.
It's $10 a month now, or $1.5 million later.
Well, and if you want to keep seeing your guns
Maybe-
prices go up, your ammo prices go up.
You know what, Dave? We should rebrand San Diego County gun owners, and we should call it Second Amendment Insurance.
I think that's an awesome idea.
Right? We should
do.
just start telling people, like, hey, we're selling Second Amendment
That's right.
insurance.
It's just like we're going to fix your car after you've got 200,000 miles on it.
You'd be
Hey,
illegal.
you talking about my Jeep.
Yeah.
You'd be illegal in New Jersey.
So you'd be illegal in
You'd be
California.
illegal
Trust
in
me.
New York.
We're
You'd be
practically legal
Be
here.
in good company.
Now, then we'd have to
Yeah.
go through the insurance commission. Can you imagine
Exactly.
what that would be like?
Oh my God.
No, that's enough to curl your hair.
Well, did I tell you my Jeep went over 200,000 miles, by the way?
I'm surprised it made it.
Are you kidding?
Did he take you to brunch on that thing?
It's a beast. I love it.
Yeah,
It's
there
great.
go.
You
There
should
go.
ride with him all the time, so help him get from point A to point B.
It's a beast.
What do you drive normally?
I drive a Subaru, so
You're a Subi guy?
yeah, I got a Subaru Ascent, so I got the third row seating and
are
Cheerios on the floor in the
a
back.
Subi?
You know
that
it's-
is a cult car.
It's pretty manly.
You know that
I don't
it is
mean to
not.
say.
A
It's-
cult car? What do you mean?
Subis are cult cars.
What
Go
does that
talk
mean?
to somebody that owns a Subi.
And my wife, she drives a Subaru as well, and sometimes
see?
we joke
There you go.
about each other because we wear cargo shorts and
Yeah.
stuff, and people whisper about us.
Birkenstocks.
Yeah,
So you live up in the hills where the snow is?
yeah, New Jersey, in the suburbs.
So what are you doing to a Subi?
Are you saying that people who buy a Subaru end up acting very cultish? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Or are you saying there was a cult out there and they all
no, if you follow the
it's like they all had
Subaru-
Nikes on in that
Well,
one Rancho
I got
Bernardo.
we had 5 of them.
Subaru
Wow. I
people
think 5,
march
maybe
to the tune
4,
of a
yeah,
different
5.
drum.
What's the drum they march to? They're just kind of
Look what he runs.
oh, all right.
I'm not saying it's a
Let's
bad
just
car.
change gears. You know what we need to do is we
like
need to
that.
give a shout out to one of our friends, Tony Simon.
Tony Simon.
Tony Simon.
What a great
was-
guy.
Yep, Tony Simon's listening in. He said something about one of us being a stud. I'm not going to say
Not
who.
me. It was
No, one of us. And then also Gunwebs was saying disparaging things about 9mm. Shame on you, Gunwebs. I want to give a shout out to everyone out there listening in.
That's what an honor that Tony Simon is listening in. We've had him on the show before. And
Great
he's
guy.
such
Great
a-
guy.
Such a personality.
The second is for everyone. You need to support him. He's good people.
We're going to start asking every guest what car
What car they drive?
And
See
I'll
if there's a
bet
trend.
you 70% will be Subarus.
What, of guests?
No.
I highly doubt that, David.
70%
That's not
of
the
our
wrong demographic, bud. I'm an outlier.
Okay, I'll check it. But it just brought up a good point. I'm going to have to look into
So,
it.
being that you're from Jersey, what's your favorite gun?
My favorite, like that I own, or
Yeah,
like in general.
Well, both.
Okay, so I mean, I can't give you the one favorite, but I do love my Kimber 1911. Okay, and then my shotgun. So it's a different, different organism here. My over under. I've got a Browning Satori 725. It's
I almost said that. For some reason, I
Yeah,
can totally see you with this
perfect for futtery. I love it.
buttery.
San Diego Gun Show is returning October 21st and 22nd. You asked for it. we got it. It's the second gun show since they banned it from the Del Mar Fairgrounds, and we need you to come out and support the event so we can keep on growing the gun show and help renormalize gun ownership and get educated. The Gun Owners Emporium is also happening. It'll be free with the gun show admission. What's a symposium? 2 full days of presentations and speakers when gun show attendees can learn something, listen to something thought-provoking, and enjoy the gun show. The admission is only $15, but you can get a $3 discount at gunownersradio.com/symposium.
So thank you again, everybody that participated and attended Gun Prom, all the donations from all the different gun shops. You guys are absolutely wonderful. We'll, of course, be talking more every week about some of the folks that participated. And thank you all to those who bid on items, and congratulations to those who won. And congratulations to those who won a gun. You have to, of course, make an appointment and do your dross, but you went home with the satisfaction of adding 1 new firearm to your collection. So thank you so much to Mr. Santee himself, Rob McNellis, for being the MC. Thank you, Gail and Desi. You guys did a wonderful job with Gun Prom. Thank you so much. You guys worked so hard. It did not go unnoticed. And, who else should I thank? Freedom AV, Ed, you did a wonderful job. It all went really, really well. So I just wanted to take a second and thank everybody, and I thought it was really, really wonderful. All right, now, everybody's favorite segment. Years ago, we found out that my nephew was particularly good at gun trivia, so we decided to invite people to send in questions, and if we get your question and read it on the air, you're going to get a hat or a shirt. And if you stump my nephew with your question, we'll give you a special prize. So without further ado, Sam the Gunman, how are you, man?
All right. A little bit under the weather, but can't complain.
I'm sorry to hear. Happy Rosh Hashanah. Is that the appropriate thing to say? Happy Rosh Hashanah?
This is fine. It works.
All right, cool. Yesterday was Rosh Hashanah, right?
That's correct.
Which is what?
It is the Jewish New Year.
That's right. What year? Do we know what year it is?
It's I want to say 5784, but I may be a couple off there.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you. Almost stumped you with the year. So you really are feeling a little under the weather. Well, good luck on this. Of course, your biggest fan, John Petrolino, he's going to read it to you.
Hey, Sam, how's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a while. So here's our question for you. Kirk from Escondido. And I do believe Escondido is a real place, right, Michael?
It's a real place.
Okay, so Kirk asks a question for you. He wants to know what rifle had an 8-bit computer in the stock and used a 9-volt battery for power.
Kirk from Escondido, thanks very much for writing in. What firearm had an 8-bit computer and a 9-volt battery in the stock? I believe he's referring to the Remington E-Tronics series of rifles that used an electrical ignition system with electrically actuated primers, and to initiate those, to detonate those primers instead of a firing pin. An electronic ignition system has to be powered by something. So you need a battery in the stock, you need an electrical switch in the trigger, and you need a computer to control it all. Is that what he's talking about?
That's actually not right.
It's completely wrong.
It's a 50-watt plasma rifle is what we were looking for. 50-watt plasma rifle would have been the winner on this case.
He's under the weather. Give him a break.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
You got it.
Read the answer.
That's right.
What was that?
That's right.
For the roll tacos.
Yeah, really. Why don't you read the answer?
The Remington E-Tronics rifle. Did I say that even right? I don't even know. It's a variant of the Remington 700, featured an electronic trigger and ignition system. The firing pin became an electrode, and the electronic primer charged the case. Then the electricity raised the temperature high enough for the ignition. The proprietary nature of the platform ensured that the technology died a swift death.
I wonder if there are any advantages. You suppose were there any advantages to that? Was it less movement and therefore more accurate, or?
Well, there's one real advantage I can think of, and that would be that it is slightly faster. Well, okay, maybe two advantages. One, that it's slightly faster than a mechanical firing pin, or it should be if designed properly, which, again, theoretically could be conducive to slightly better precision because the lock time is reduced, the time in between you pulling the trigger, or rather the trigger breaking and the round being discharged. So that might be an advantage. It might be an advantage that you can set the trigger pull however light you want because all it is two electrical contacts meeting each other. You could maybe make an argument for better reliability because there aren't any moving parts, but then you introduce electronics that have to be ruggedized and shockproof, and you need a battery and everything. I've written before about why we kind of don't like smart guns in the gun world, and the same answers still apply.
Awesome job.
Just for fun, Sam, if you can guess the retail price of it right now off the top of your head, what would it be?
I don't know. I'm going to say like $1,000.
Oh, a little bit double that actually. It's $2,000. That's the retail price of this. $2,000. That's insane to me.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Brendan's
for a
offended.
Remington 700 now, let alone then.
$2,000. I mean, that's for all that electronics and how much is a regular?
It didn't last, did it?
Didn't last. How much is a regular 700 going for? Like $800?
Oh, well, at the time, because this wasn't recent. This was maybe a couple decades ago. You must have been talking, I don't know, less than $500.
Really? For 700? All right. Okay. Well, that's a lot of money.
That was back then.
Don't forget to calculate on your battery costs.
Oh, good point.
Hey, Sam, we had a conversation earlier. How many articles have you written?
I've lost count. Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been counting.
But you've been writing articles for San Diego County Gunners for what, about a year?
No.
Yeah, I want to say longer than that for SDCGO.
2 years?
Maybe about a year.
About a year. All right. Year and a half. So
Doing one a week, right?
Yep. That's 52.
Give you 52 there, and then how many for Leatherneck?
I've done, I don't know, I think 6 for Leatherneck, and I've got some more in the pipeline.
Nice.
So you're probably closer to when we were talking earlier. What do you thought he was?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Because Mike said it was in the thousands.
You're killing it, man. I think it's great. We got some ideas for you too.
Yeah. All right. What's
the hardest part?
What's your latest blog on?
Well, my latest blog post is on. It's kind of a down in the weeds type of thing, but there's a punchline to it. The administration has been talking about changing the definitions of various things having to do with what constitutes a firearm dealer in a push, everyone thinks, to try to get as many people to need FFLs as possible. It's really sort of and the argument I make is that it's sort of a backdoor to universal registration because that's always been a goal from the gun control side. But they know they can't achieve it through legal means, and they know it's going to get tied up in courts because it's arguably unconstitutional. So the effort is to go through back channels, to redefine terms, to essentially cobble together something like a registration scheme.
Wow. And what inspires you to do that one?
Well, I caught it in the news, and I realized that probably because it's such a kind of obscure type of thing. Oh, so what? The ATF at the urging of the administration wants to redefine words. What's the big deal? Well, it is a big deal, and I try to explain in the blog post why that is.
Yeah, Alice in Wonderland thought it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, redefining words.
I have a very good one coming up that I've had to rewrite a couple times because the news has changed. So stay on the lookout for that one soon.
Okay, cool. All right, man. Awesome. So go to SanDiegoCountyGunOwners.com and then /blog, or go to OrangeCountyGunOwners.com /blog, or InlandEmpireGunOwners.com /blog.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, and hope you're feeling better.
Thanks for having me on, and good night, everyone.
Good night.
Well, there we go. John, what do you think, man?
I think it's just about a wrap, isn't it?
I think it's just about a wrap. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you so much for helping me indulge my Sunday brunch addiction.
That was great. It's all a pleasure.
It was good. Tom Ham's, great place, great service.
It was phenomenal.
Phenomenal lunch. Brunch.
All right, you
It
get
was
to go
brunch,
ride in
buddy.
the Jeep.
I took a ride in the Jeep. We didn't drink any mimosas, though. Let's get that out of the way.
There were no mimosas. There was no. I didn't
mimosas.
see any cantaloupe either. Nobody had cantaloupe on their plate,
No,
so
that's right.
it wasn't that bad.
Mark it off your list.
Brunch is the bro lunch.
Yeah, bro lunch.
Lunch.
There you go. I'm going to start that. It'd be an all meat based brunch, bro lunch.
It was good.
All right. Well, cool.
All right.
Dave, what'd you think of the gun prom last night?
Good.
Did a good job?
Who are those guys out in the front?
What do you mean?
Which ones?
That's not the Flyers.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know. I didn't even know it was.
Yeah. I think
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate
I
it.
know. I think this is the first year we got protesters. I'm
We
so
had protesters?
Yeah.
so proud of
Yeah.
I missed it. It was a story. I could have
Means you're-
written about it.
You're big.
My gosh.
I know it's all
You made
because
it.
of you.
I know.
Protester.
Yeah, right.
I knew you were coming.
They thought I was John Correia.
Everybody thinks you're John Correia.
That's wrong, John.
Absolutely.
Well, Wrong John, thanks for coming out and spending a ride with us, man.
Wrong John.
Again, hopefully we can entice you into coming back every year.
If I can, I will.
Thanks for watching this episode from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns and the Second Amendment. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Click on the links in the show notes and support the businesses that support your Second Amendment rights. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.